Sharon Gless is with us right now in lockdown in Miami, in Florida. How you going?
Hi, Ian. I'm here without my red wig.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you.
You're
Watching
welcome.
Queer as Folk was a rite of passage for so many gays. Debbie Novotny was the role model mum that so many of us wished we had.
I was so attracted to the role of Debbie. Someone had sneaked me the script, and I read it, and I called Showtime, who produced it, and I went after that part because I just knew there'd never been a character like her on television, certainly not a mouth like hers on television, and I knew it was going to change lives, or I hoped it would. And I wanted to be there. It was a true honor to play her. That's honestly.
Well, Queer as Folk played its part in talking about HIV at a time when many wouldn't.
I don't know if you remember the storyline of where my son Michael falls in love with a boy who's HIV, and played by Bobby Gant, and I was totally against Michael dating this man because he had HIV, and you think Debbie would be so supportive of a young boy who was ill. But I loved the way they wrote it because Debbie didn't care about the boy who was ill. She cared about her son getting sick and didn't want that boy anywhere around her son. There was a part of me that felt badly playing Debbie like that, but she's a mother. And that's real life.
There was a lot of nudity on the show too, and that must have taken quite a bit of courage for the cast.
It took great courage for them. But they did it, and the respect that our producers showed them whenever there was a sex scene on Queer as Folk. The boys who were involved, usually just two, were called into the producer's office, and the cinematographer was there, and the director was there, and they were able to talk about it and say what they felt awkward about. The boys were honored; their feelings were honored about what they were about to do.
You certainly did bring class, including that scene where Ted and Emmett bring some dildos out to teach you how to do blowjobs. You weren't afraid to do anything on screen, were you?
Barney was on the set. My husband was on the set the day we shot that. He'd flown up to Canada, and he watched me shoot that scene, and I kept hoping he would say, "She doesn't need lessons, boys." She didn't say anything. He just sat there and watched it. It was a fun scene. Yeah. Very, very fun.
Your previous hit show, Cagney and Lacey, was also groundbreaking, in this case for women. There'd never been a show like that.
Well, actually, the person responsible for pushing that change for women was a man. And I ended up marrying him 10 years later. First feminist I ever met was Barney Rosenzweig, and he carried that script around with him for 7 years trying to sell it. Nobody wanted any part of it. It was easier selling Queer as Folk than it was selling a show about two women.
Queer as Folk, it's a show that still continues to draw crowds around the world. Everyone watches it. We love it. Tell us about the viewers that gave you some feedback. What sort of things did they say?
I got mail, quite a bit of mail from young boys. I'll just give you an example of one boy's letter to me, that his best friend, he thanked me for the role I was playing, and that they'd never had anything like this before, and that his best friend didn't get a chance to see the show. He'd never seen it, and he killed himself. He ended his life because he thought there was nobody that was like him. And I used to get mail quite often like that Queer as Folk saved young men's lives because they got to see someone who was like them, and it was all right. Believe me, I had no idea when I asked to be on the show that it would be that powerful. I still Not as often, but I still have men come up. They're older now, but come up to me on the street. Barney and I'll be walking down the street, and they'll ask for a hug from Debbie, and I always give it. Always.